online and troll people. But the boys are wrong. Cartman is not the troll. So who is the troll? Everybody has a theory.
Someone who probably still lives with his mother and hates himself.
But the troll doesn't live with his mother. He's not some loser who has nothing better to do. The troll is actually Kyle's dad, Gerald Broflovski. He has a good job as a lawyer. In this, South Park pointing out the often ignored fact that trolling is not just a loser's game. Anybody can be a troll. Two of the biggest trolls alive today are Donald Trump and Elon Musk. You would think that they'd be too busy doing billionaire stuff to troll anybody, but they somehow find time to spend 18 hours a day stealing memes and arguing with peasants on Twitter. Billionaires, they're just like us. However, unlike Elon and Trump, Gerald has the advantage of anonymity. People only know his screen name, SkanKunt42. This anonymity allows him to be so much
Shit,
faster.
man.
Now, when a guy like Gerald does something like this, the first question is always, why? Why is he so crude and nasty? Why is he photoshopping penises into women's mouths? Why? Gerald believes he has a good reason for what he's doing.
Maybe someone who just kind of thinks it's funny to stir the pot and watch everyone freak out.
This is the reason Gerald gives to defend the hypothetical troll that everyone assumes is an elementary school kid. He gives this reason to his wife, gives it to his children, gives it to his fellow trolls, and literally everybody else. This is probably what Gerald tells himself as well, but he doesn't believe it. Not completely. He has doubts sometimes.
Maybe the fact that it's so not makes it somehow funny to kids.
When we combine these doubts with Gerald's behavior, we start to see the very real reason as to why Gerald is actually a troll. We just have to examine two very similar but different scenes. The first one is this scene from the second episode of season 20. Gerald goes for a jog after a night of trolling people online, and he is as happy as he can be. Nothing can keep him down.
Get out of the street, idiot! Sorry, my bad.
He's smiling, happy. He ignores arguing neighbors and pretty much everything else. When a cyclist almost runs him over, Gerald just laughs it off and waves at the guy.
No worries.
Then there is a similar scene from the fourth episode. Here, Gerald has temporarily stopped trolling people on the internet, and now he's irritable. The same things that he brushed off with a smile before now bother him. When the cyclist from earlier almost hits him, Gerald curses.
Son of a bitch! Ah!
Happy-go-lucky Gerald is gone. So while Gerald might tell everybody, and even himself, that he just trolls people just because he thinks it's funny, there is clearly a much darker impulse. Look at this. It's a very innocent post. Hey, I just want to remind everyone about the ice cream social to benefit homeless teens. Looking for volunteers. And what's Gerald's response?
Hey, I'd like to volunteer to kick you in the... Where do I sign up?
This is uncalled for. The poor lady didn't deserve it. Or this one.
This is my daughter at the triathlon today. Go, little girls.
Boring, wholesome family stuff. But what's Gerald got to say about this?
Your daughter has a mustache. What the hell is wrong with your ovaries?
He does this all night, and he has a lot of fun doing it. This is not funny, it's just cruel. Gerald is lashing at these people on the internet who have done nothing to him. And from the two scenes we just examined, we can start to see why. Gerald trolls to let out his frustration. When that cyclist almost runs him over, Gerald just smiles and lets it go in the moment. Then, later on, he lets out that frustration on some poor lady online. This is an obvious case of misplaced anger. So why is misplaced anger even such a problem in the first place? Society, and also us. Social conventions dictate that we have to be nice to each other all the time. We're constantly pressured to suppress our dark emotions. Things like anger are often treated like a disease rather than a normal part of the human experience. In the gap year between high school and college, I worked a retail job where I was required to smile all day. Even when grown men and women were acting like spoiled toddlers, I still had to paste on a smile and be as nice as possible when what I really wanted to do was punch them in their stupid faces and watch their teeth fly through the air. But I couldn't. I would lose my job and face an assault charge. So I sucked it up and took it, day in, day out. The customers always knew that we had to be nice to them, which just made the bad ones worse. It would aggravate you more and more because they know you couldn't do anything. Now, you've probably had similar experiences. There are things that you wanted to do or say, but you just couldn't. Expressing negative emotions of any kind has become increasingly taboo in our society, especially in the workplace. And this doesn't make the negative emotions go away. We still feel them, we just can't express doesn't just make people feel bad. Those are the first order consequences. Gerald's trolling creates a butterfly effect of second, third, and fourth order consequences that make everybody's life so much worse. While Cartman gets blamed for his actions, Cartman gets all the electronics destroyed, which in turn gets him into a relationship with Heidi Turner. That relationship puts the toxic in toxicity.
Shit.
It takes Heidi's life down a horrendous path. Shameless plug, but I made a video about that. There's also tension between all the boys and girls at South Park Elementary. When the trolling doesn't stop, the girls dump all their boyfriends. This leads to a gender war as Butter starts the hashtag #WienersOut movement. Events in our own world have already shown us that there are no winners in a gender war. Our entire species loses. It's a shit show all around. But the saddest and scariest consequence of Gerald's trolling comes when he picks on a website for breast cancer survivors. It's run by a Danish Olympian named Freya Ollengard. At first, Freya appears to be a match for Gerald.
This little girl can be trusted. I'm going to be the bigger person.
Gerald takes up the challenge to show Freya just how nasty he can be.
Game on.
Gerald's trolling is relentless. He even trolls Freya on live TV.
Shit, man.
Girl, you're doing great things. Don't let the bullying stop you. And that is from Dr. Where's Your
The interviewer is completely clueless, which makes the whole thing very funny for Gerald and very painful for Freya.
Believe in yourself and don't listen to the haters. You're an inspiration. That's from Hungarian physician Dr. Kutsir Budzo.
Gerald is over the moon.
He shoots. He scores.
Gerald is so pleased with himself that he brags to his son Ike.
Guess the troll from the school message boards is now harassing famous and living happily dead. You know, might say she's asking for it.
Other trolls copy Gerald, dogpile on Freya, and she finally can't take the hate anymore. She jumps out of an 11th floor balcony. This kind of thing has happened a lot in real life. While adults don't do it as much, a horrendously large amount of teenagers have taken their lives after being targeted by vicious and faceless cyberbullies. Gerald predictably freaks out. Despite being a grown man with a wife, children, and a job as a lawyer where he deals with the legal system every day, he seems to have forgotten that actions have consequences. And those consequences are coming for him. Denmark's entire population is very angry at the troll. They don't know who he is yet, but they intend to find him. They take the pain of losing Freya, combine it with the frustration of losing 200 wars to Sweden, and focus all of it on finding Gerald. They build a program called Troll Trade. Meanwhile, Gerald comes from shopping to find the troll's worst nightmare. There is a note under the windshield wiper of his car. Gerald Broflovski, I know who you are. For the second time in as many days, Gerald freaks out.
Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God!
He learns firsthand that it is not fun to be trolled. Gerald deletes his entire browsing history, deletes all his emails, destroys all his electronics, and then catapults them into a lake just to be sure. Does that do the trick? Of course not. He forgot about syncing. When he remembers and checks his son Ike's computer, he finds another email waiting for him. It says the same thing the note says. I know who you are.
Meet me under the Fremont Bridge, 9 a.m. tomorrow.
A terrified Gerald shows up to his meeting under the bridge expecting the worst. But he is in fact in luck. It's not Freya Ollengard's Avenging Angel. At least not yet. It's another troll. A fan.
We need to talk.
Gerald doesn't want to talk. He's just happy to avoid paying for his sins.
Oh, thank God.
The troll begs and begs, but Gerald is done with the life. Swaggins follows him home and does the whole "we need to talk" thing from Love Actually. Gerald tries doing normal, non-trolly things. He tries sleeping and jogging. None of it works. It's almost like trolling is an addiction. So he steals an iPad his wife got him. He had initially refused it, but he can't resist the urge to just be nasty to somebody. But Sheila catches him, which is awkward. He lies and says he was watching pizza delivery movies, but his wife knows he watches them and she doesn't care. So he lies some more and says he was watching the pissing stuff. This gets his wife worked up.
You want me to pee on you?
No.
You only like watching other women pee? Because they're pretty?
This is South Park pointing out the lengths trolls will go to hide their online activities. They may enjoy it and justify it in 100 different ways, but they know on some level that it is wrong. They are just unleashing their anger on people who don't deserve it. So So after this humiliating night, Gerald talks to the troll he's been ignoring, Dildo Swaggins. What he discovers sends him into full panic mode. While he was hiding from the internet, the Danes started working on the Troll Trace project. Its only aim is to expose everybody's browser history.
Every message, every comment ever made by trolls will retroactively be given a tag with the author's name, location, and full internet history.
Gerald nearly poops his pants. The Troll Trace CEO makes it very obvious what the consequences will be like.
Cum ut. Cum ut und die.
Gerald doesn't speak Danish, but Swaggins translates it for him.
Come out, troll. Come out and die.
Gerald knows he's cooked.
And it's over. I'm dead.
Summer's wrapping up, and life is picking back up. Early mornings, long days, and a to-do list that doesn't quit. And neither should you. Who has time to slow down due to body pain? That's why there's Aleve, to keep you going. With just one pill, Aleve delivers longer-lasting body pain relief per dose compared to other leading OTC.
But Swaggins believes there is still hope. He introduces Gerald to all the other trolls in Colorado. The Troll Trace project is not fully funded yet.
We are just a few million kronas away, so please donate via the social media of your choice.
The trolls decide to destroy the project before it gains enough funds to expose them, so they troll the hell out of Denmark. And it's not actually that hard. It's flatter than a pancake, and its entire population is made up of the people who are too chicken to go on Viking raids. The cool Danes conquered England. The cringe ones stayed behind to ride bicycles and pretend that rotten fish is delicious. But Gerald goes beyond that. He teaches his fellow trolls the art of trolling.
Look, you don't just troll a woman with cancer to get a reaction from her. It's all about the group of people that are going to come to her defense.
This is why Gerald is so good at trolling. He thinks a few steps ahead. Not far enough ahead, obviously, or he wouldn't be in the trouble he is in now, but just far enough to create an unbelievable chaos. He knows that once he trolls a woman with cancer, people are going to defend her, and he's prepared for that.
They're going to be so self-righteous that another group of people will eventually find those people totally annoying.
Gerald is basically teaching the trolls how to create grade A rage bait, which creates its own self-sustaining reaction. It's a tutorial on how to start a war. Even the trolls are
Wow,
shocked.
that seems kind of mean.
Nevertheless, the trolls do it. It's the only hope of maintaining their privacy. Coordinated trolling attempts like this are not unprecedented. They have happened several times before, actually. 4chan once helped a 39-year-old man win a Taylor Swift meet and greet contest because he wanted to sniff her hair. Taylor got creeped out and canceled the entire thing. Later on, she held a contest for schools. The schools with the most votes would get a free Taylor Swift concert on campus. 4chan got together again and made sure that the winner was the Horace Mann School for the Deaf. That was top-tier trolling and very funny. What Gerald and his buddy end up doing is the complete opposite. They're just fling as much poop as they possibly can until something sticks. This strategy works beautifully. They claim that Lego was funding ISIS. This was before Denmark invented Ozempic, so it failed to attract any heavy support.
Sir, public opinion of Denmark is very, very shit.
The Trollface CEO, Leonard Bedrager, realizes that he can't respond.
Our only choice is to go up flag.
You mean we have to tweet the Twitter?
Everything, you ignoramus.
Mr. Bedrager's name is actually a big hint for what's in store for Gerald. If you're fluent in the series of barbaric grunts that pass for the Danish language, you already know what it means. If you speak a more civilized language, don't worry, you'll find out soon. Now, Gerald and his troll buddies don't know what Mr. Bedrager's name means, or what he's actually planning. This makes them celebrate prematurely. Gerald even goes back to full-time trolling.
Nobody cares about your fat sister with Lyme disease.
But disaster is coming. Her name is Heidi Turner. Remember when Gerald trolled her so hard she quit Twitter? Well, before she did, she had been trying to hunt down the troll.
What is all this? To try and prove who the troll was, I started to look for patterns in how students used emojis.
According to Heidi's emoji analysis, the dreaded troll, SkankHunt42, is not actually his own plan. He betrays Hillary Clinton and releases everybody's internet history anyway. The man's goal all along was to start World War III by exposing everybody's secrets. He wants to watch the world burn.
We're going to use them to set the world on fire. When the servers go online, there will be panic, chaos, and war.
A lot of countries are nervous. The Chinese are mobilizing for World War III. Even allies don't trust each other anymore.
Sir, a message from Saudi Arabia. They say they pinky promise not to look up our internet history. We pinky promise not to look up theirs.
Private citizens mirror the same worries that the governments have. They're all facing the same dilemma.
If we can all agree to resist the urge to look up other people's internet histories, Maggie, then our town won't suffer the same fate as Fort Collins.
This is a prisoner's dilemma. It's one of the toughest problems in game theory. The classic problem is that you have two suspected
What if your dreams could become reality?
The Sandman can make your dreams.
criminals in different interrogation rooms. If they don't snitch on each other, they both go free. But if suspect A snitches on suspect B, he goes free, and suspect B gets 10 years in jail. If both of them snitch on each other, they both get 5 years. The suspects can't communicate with each other. Each suspect has to make his decision in isolation, and just hope that the other guy doesn't snitch. The prisoner's dilemma is tough enough when you only have 2 people. But once you apply it to the population of the entire planet, it's over.
I know, I'll certainly respect other privacy, but what about people like Lauren Tucker the Blabbermouth?
The right thing is deceptively easy. If nobody looks up anybody's internet history, then nobody finds out anything he is not supposed to know, and social harmony is maintained. But if just one person does it, all hell breaks loose.
This hack of our city will never happen so long as we can rely on the rationality of the American people.
Yeah, fat chance. In the prisoner's dilemma, most suspects snitch on each other and both end up going to jail. A fate they could have easily avoided by keeping their mouth shut. The reason is simple. There is no honor among thieves. If you had any honor, they wouldn't be thieves in the first place. So they betray each other and end up losing every single time. The people of South Park feel the same way. They know they can't trust their neighbors. This is a very funny commentary on the complete breakdown of social trust in our community. And because people can't trust their neighbors, they only have 2 options. Leave the planet or destroy Denmark. Leaving the planet isn't viable because SpaceX doesn't have the technology to get humans to Mars. So that only leaves one option, destroying Denmark. Which brings us to Leonard's plans. Was he too stupid to see that the world would be destroyed? Governments would never let anybody expose their secrets. Just look at what's happened to the likes of Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. All they did was publish a few embarrassing government secrets that we all kind of knew about. We know politicians are corrupt, and we know the government is spying on us. We just didn't have proof until Snowden and Assange provided it. But revealing this was a no-no. Assange and Snowden instantly became wanted men. As for the men who had really damaging secrets like Epstein, well, the less said the better. You already know what happened to him. So how exactly does Ben Radger's plan get away with exposing everybody's secrets? That's the neat part. He doesn't. He is fully aware of the human cost of this plan. He knows Denmark will be destroyed and millions will die in wars all over the world because of his actions. But he is perfectly prepared to take that trade-off.
Because it's freaking hilarious!
Sacrifice millions of lives? Why? Ben Radgers is a different kind of troll. A more calculated and a more dangerous one. Gerald and his little band of mean-spirited little losers are small potatoes compared to him. But is he just doing it for the lulz, or does he have ulterior motives? The answer is yes.
Somebody who could rise to political power through nothing more than pushing people's buttons.
Ben Radger's plan is basically America's Middle East strategy. Create a lot of chaos and then come in acting like the savior. It's psychotically brilliant. Start a war, let the people beat the living crap out of each other, and then come in near the end acting like you're the solution. The problem with convoluted supervillain plans like this one is that they only work if everybody else in the world is painfully stupid. And in the South Park universe, people are just stupid enough for it to work. Yes, Kyle interferes, but it's an accident. He learns that his father is the troll, and he is in Denmark, trapped in Troll Trace HQ. Mr. Garrison, the new president by the way, already has bombers en route to bomb Denmark. Kyle uses generating as much hate as possible so it can overload the Troll Trace servers. The Pentagon has an even better idea.
And if this kind of overreaction can be amplified, it could blow up the internet.
With help from the Pentagon and SpaceX, the boys succeed. They blow up the internet. Everyone's browsing history gets wiped from existence. Gerald gets away with everything. He never has to face the consequences of his actions. The only people who knew that he was a troll are Kyle and Ike, and they're not going to snitch. This may be unsatisfying, but it perfectly mirrors real life. Trolls really get punished because the vast majority of them never get caught. But trolling in South Park doesn't end with the reset of the internet. In the final scene of the season, a reporter interviews the man who has sent the first email on the new internet. He sent an email to an old friend. I know what you're thinking. What did it say?
I showed him my
This might seem a nihilistic
Get protected from the unexpected. When health problems pop up, like a new symptom or a hard hit in the game, health insurance can help limit your costs. Ambetter Health can help you get coverage and make it
86-hour gaming marathon collapse. On October 23, 2002, in a crowded internet cafe in Gwangju, South Korea, a 24-year-old man's gaming session ended in tragedy. Kim had been a regular at the establishment, known for his dedication to the medieval fantasy game room. What set this particular session apart was its duration, 86 hours of the nearly continuous play. The internet cafe culture in South Korea had exploded in popularity, with thousands of these PC bangs operating around the clock. They offered high-speed internet, comfortable chairs, and an escape into virtual worlds. Kim had arrived on Sunday evening with the intention of playing through the night. That night stretched into days. Surveillance footage later revealed that over the course of the 86 hours, Kim left his seat only for brief bathroom breaks and to smoke cigarettes just outside the entrance. He consumed energy drinks and instant noodles brought by cafe staff. Sleep came only in short bursts, his head occasionally dropping to his chest before he would jerk awake and continue playing. By the third day, witnesses reported that Kim's appearance had deteriorated noticeably. His face was pale and drawn, dark circles had formed under his bloodshot eyes. His hands trembled slightly as he controlled his character on screen. Other patrons noticed his labored breathing, but assumed it was just fatigue from his extended session. At approximately 2 p.m. on Wednesday, after nearly 4 days without proper rest, Kim's body began to show signs of extreme distress. His breathing became increasingly shallow. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the air conditioning. He complained briefly of chest pains to a nearby player, but continued gaming. 20 minutes later, Kim suddenly slumped forward in his chair. His hands dropped from the keyboard. His head hit the desk with enough force to alert those sitting nearby. Cafe staff rushed over and immediately called emergency services. Paramedics arrived within minutes to find Kim unresponsive. Despite immediate CPR and emergency transport to the nearest hospital, the damage was too severe. Kim's heart, pushed beyond its limits by the combination of sleep deprivation, physical inactivity, dehydration, and constant stress, had simply given out. At 3:47 p.m., doctors pronounced Kim dead from cardiac failure. Medical experts later explained that the continuous stress had triggered a fatal arrhythmia. His heart's electrical system had essentially short-circuited after days of abnormal strain. Fatal blood clot. On May 19, 2011, in Sheffield, United Kingdom, a 20-year-old man collapsed suddenly while waiting for a job interview. Staniforth was known among friends for his passion for gaming, particularly the science fiction game Halo, which had consumed increasing amounts of his time in recent months. His gaming sessions had grown longer and more intense. What began as casual evening play had evolved into 12-hour marathons, often stretching from early evening until dawn. During these sessions, Staniforth would remain almost completely stationary, his legs tucked beneath him on his chair, fingers rapidly working the controller. The human body isn't designed for such prolonged immobility. Inside Staniforth's leg, a silent danger was developing. In the deep veins of his left calf, blood began to stagnate and clot, a condition known medically as deep vein thrombosis. The clot grew larger with each extended gaming session, each hour of compressed vessels and restricted circulation. On the morning of May 19th, Staniforth left his house feeling normal. He had been gaming until 4 o'clock a.m., but felt ready for his upcoming job interview. As he stood at a bus stop near the Job Center Plus office, he suddenly experienced a sharp pain in his chest. Within seconds, breathing became difficult. He felt lightheaded and nauseated. What Staniforth couldn't know was that the clot had dislodged from his leg and traveled through his bloodstream. It had now reached his lungs, blocking the pulmonary artery, a condition called pulmonary embolism. His oxygen levels plummeted immediately. His heart began to race, trying desperately to compensate. Witnesses saw him clutch his chest and collapse to the pavement. Emergency services were called, and paramedics arrived within minutes. Medical staff later explained to his family that the clot had completely blocked blood flow to his lungs. His heart, suddenly forced to pump against an immovable obstruction, had been strained beyond its capacity. Despite the doctor's desperate efforts, Chris Staniforth was pronounced dead at 11:47 a.m., a victim of what would later be termed thrombosis, a blood clot directly linked to his extended periods of immobility during gaming. 3-day gaming binge. On January 1st, 2015, as the world celebrated the arrival of a new year, a 38-year-old man sat alone in an internet cafe in New Taipei City. The establishment was open 24 hours, catering to those seeking escape in digital worlds regardless of time. For 5 consecutive days, Chu had been fixed to his seat, eyes locked on the screen before him. The cafe was typical of those found across Taiwan. Rows of computers separated by dividers, offering a semblance of privacy in a public space. Staff members had grown accustomed to Chu's presence. He had become a fixture, barely leaving his station for nearly 120 continuous hours. Security footage later reviewed showed he stood only for brief bathroom breaks. Throughout his 5-day session, Chu consumed little more than instant noodles and energy drinks brought by cafe employees. Sleep came only in short bursts, his head occasionally dropping to his chest before jerking awake to continue playing. Witnesses reported he spoke to no one, communicating only through in-game chat with strangers online. By the 5th day, Chu's appearance had deteriorated noticeably. His eyes were sunken and red from strain. His movements had become sluggish and uncoordinated. Several patrons later told police they had noticed his labored breathing, but assumed he was simply tired from his extended session. At approximately 10 o'clock a.m., a cafe attendant approached Chu to check if he wanted another drink. When she received no response, she gently tapped his shoulder. Chu remained motionless, slumped forward in his chair. His hands were still positioned over the keyboard, fingers curled as if ready to continue playing. Emergency services arrived within minutes, but medical personnel immediately recognized the signs. Chu's body was already cool to the touch. His skin had taken on a waxy pallor. The prolonged sitting position had likely caused blood to pool in his lower extremities, triggering a fatal clot. The autopsy confirmed that Chu had suffered a cardiac arrest caused by extreme physical exhaustion. The combination of sleep deprivation, poor nutrition, dehydration, and prolonged immobility had created a perfect storm within his body. His heart had simply stopped. Teen dies during challenge. On August 21st, 2020, as social media trends swept across teenage communities nationwide, a girl in Oklahoma City made a fatal decision in her bathroom. Phillips was a typical teenager, active on TikTok, concerned with likes and follows, eager to participate in viral challenges that might boost her online presence. That evening, she discovered videos featuring the Bull Challenge, a dangerous trend encouraging users to consume excessive amounts of the over-the-counter allergy medication to induce hallucinations. The standard dosage for adults is 25 to 50 milligrams. The challenge promoted taking many times that amount, using it purchased from a local pharmacy. Phillips consumed an estimated 12 to 14 tablets, approximately 300 milligrams of diphenhydramine hydrochloride. Within 30 minutes, the first effects began. Her heart rate accelerated dramatically. Her mouth became extremely dry. Her vision blurred as her pupils dilated. These initial symptoms were merely the beginning. As the flooded her system, more severe effects took hold. Her body temperature rose dangerously. Her heartbeat became erratic. The hallucinations she sought arrived, but alongside them came confusion and panic. Around 11 p.m., Phillips' breathing grew labored. Her body began to shake with tremors. She attempted to reach her bedroom but collapsed in the hallway. Family members heard the fall and rushed to find her convulsing on the floor, unable to speak coherently. Emergency services were called immediately. Paramedics arrived to find Phillips in full cardiac distress. Her heart rhythm had become dangerously irregular, a condition known as diphenhydramine-induced arrhythmia. They administered emergency treatment on scene and during transport to the hospital. In the emergency room, medical staff worked frantically to stabilize her. The toxic levels of diphenhydramine had caused severe damage to her heart muscle. Despite aggressive intervention, including attempted cardiac resuscitation, the damage was too extensive. At 1:38 a.m., doctors were forced to acknowledge what the monitors already showed. Chloe Marie Phillips was pronounced dead, a victim not just of a drug overdose, but of a social media algorithm that had promoted and amplified a deadly challenge to impressionable teens. Fatal collapse. On August 5th, 2005, in the bustling city of Daegu, South Korea, a 28-year-old man sat hunched over a computer in a dimly lit internet cafe. These establishments, known locally as PC bangs, had become cultural institutions where gamers could play for hours, often through the night. Lee had been playing the real-time strategy game StarCraft for nearly 50 hours straight. StarCraft wasn't just a game in South Korea. It was a national obsession, with professional leagues and television broadcasts. Lee wasn't a professional, but his dedication to the game had become all-consuming. He had barely moved from his seat for over 2 days, stopping only for brief bathroom breaks. Witnesses later reported that throughout his marathon session, Lee had consumed almost nothing but cigarettes, and the deprivation was visible on his face, bloodshot eyes, pale skin, and increasingly erratic movements as he commanded his virtual troops across the screen. At approximately 3:15 a.m., after clicking furiously through another intense match, Lee's body began to show signs of severe distress. His breathing became labored, sweat beaded on his forehead despite the air conditioning. Fellow gamers noticed his condition worsening, but no one intervened. Such extended sessions were not uncommon. Suddenly, Lee slumped forward in his chair. At first, nearby players thought he had simply fallen asleep. It wasn't until he slid off his seat onto the floor that others realized something was seriously wrong. Cafe staff called emergency services immediately. When paramedics arrived, they found Lee still conscious, but in critical condition. His pulse was rapid and irregular. His skin had taken on a bluish tint. They rushed him to the nearest hospital, working desperately to stabilize him during the journey. Medical staff later determined that Lee's heart had been pushed to its limits. The combination of exhaustion, dehydration, and stress had triggered fatal heart failure. Despite emergency intervention, his vital organs had been without proper circulation for too long. At 4:23 a.m., Seung Seop Lee was pronounced dead. Collapse during fitness video game. On March 4, 2009, in the quiet coastal village of Hopton-on-Sea, United Kingdom, a 25-year-old man collapsed in his living room while playing a fitness game. Eves had recently returned from an overseas trip and was trying to shake off the lingering effects of jet lag through light exercise on his Nintendo Wii console. The Wii Fit had become popular as a way to combine video gaming with physical activity. Players would mimic sports motions while standing on a balance board, following prompts on their television screen. That evening, Eves had chosen a jogging program designed to simulate running through a virtual park. Just 2 days earlier, Eves had flown back from Thailand, a 12-hour flight that had left him fatigued but otherwise healthy. Friends described him as fit and active with no known health issues. He had mentioned feeling slightly tired but was eager to return to his normal routine after the long journey. At approximately 8:30 p.m., Eves began his virtual jog, running in place on the carpet of his living room. His girlfriend was in another room when she heard a sudden thump. She rushed in to find Eves collapsed on the floor, unconscious and unresponsive. She immediately called emergency services. When paramedics arrived minutes later, they found Eves in cardiac arrest. Despite their immediate efforts to resuscitate him, including defibrillation and CPR, there was no response. His heart had stopped completely. The medical examiner later determined that Eves had died from sudden arrhythmia death syndrome, a condition that causes the heart to develop a fatal rhythm without warning. The physical exertion of the game, combined with his recent long-haul flight, likely triggered the deadly arrhythmia. SADS often remains undetected until it proves fatal. The electrical system controlling Eves' heartbeat had malfunctioned severely, causing the muscle to quiver uselessly instead of pumping blood. Within seconds, his brain was deprived of oxygen. Within minutes, death was inevitable. What made the tragedy particularly cruel was the context. Eves had been engaging in what was marketed as a healthy activity. The game designed to improve physical fitness had instead become the catalyst for a fatal cardiac event. At 9:11 p.m., despite continued resuscitation attempts, Tim Eves was pronounced dead at the scene. Death by blackout challenge. On December 12, 2021, in a suburban home in Chester, Pennsylvania, a girl was found unconscious in her bedroom closet. Anderson had been a bright, sociable child who, like many of her generation, was active on social media platforms despite her young age. That afternoon, she had encountered one of the most dangerous trends circulating online, the blackout challenge. The challenge, which had spread rapidly across TikTok and other platforms, encouraged participants to choke themselves until they lost consciousness. The goal was to experience the brief euphoric sensation that comes with oxygen deprivation to the brain. For many children, the dangerous nature of this activity wasn't fully understood. Alone in her bedroom, Anderson decided to attempt the challenge. She had used a purse strap, hanging it from a clothes rack in her closet. The medical examiner would later determine that she had positioned herself in such a way that her body weight created pressure against her carotid arteries, the vessels that supply blood to the brain. Within seconds of applying pressure, Anderson would have experienced lightheadedness as blood flow to her brain decreased. Unlike many who attempt such challenges with friends present, there was no one to intervene, and she began to lose consciousness. As her oxygen levels plummeted, her brain began to shut down critical functions. At approximately 4:30 p.m., Anderson's mother entered the bedroom to check on her daughter. She discovered the child hanging unconscious in the closet. Immediately, she cut the strap and laid her daughter on the floor, beginning CPR while calling emergency services. Paramedics arrived within minutes to find the mother still attempting resuscitation. First responders took over life-saving efforts and rushed Anderson to Crozer Chester Medical Center. In the emergency room, doctors found that her brain had been deprived of oxygen for a critical period. Despite aggressive intervention, including mechanical ventilation and medication to reduce brain swelling, the damage was devastating and irreversible. For 5 days, Anderson remained on life support while her family maintained a vigil at her bedside. Physicians performed multiple tests to determine brain activity, each confirming the same grim reality. On December 17th, with her family's consent, life police found the weapon, zip ties identical to those used on Brisbane, and multiple pairs of women's underwear hidden in his mattress, each apparently taken as trophies from victims. The clean-cut medical student who was engaged to be married had methodically selected, found, and executed Jalissa Brisbane, creating a new term that would send chills through internet users nationwide: the Craigslist Killer. If you want to see more videos like this, click the video on screen now and make sure to subscribe.
Yes, sir. Oh my. That was cool. Yes, sir.
Aquí está todo lo que encontré en venta más grande del año de Ashley. Hot Buys desde solo $199.
This memorable line comes out of a South Park episode from 2005 that got banned from TV for a year. Catholics in America and Australia wrote letters to get the episode permanently banned. Catholics in New Zealand went a step further. They boycotted the advertisers of CanWest, the company that owned the TV station that broadcast South Park in New Zealand. CanWest went bankrupt in 2008, but it wasn't due to the boycott. There was a huge global recession. I was too young to care about the controversy when it erupted back in 2005, but when I finally watched the episode a couple of years later, I felt very guilty when I laughed. I rewatched it again for this exact video, and I still laugh. Pray for me, because I am definitely going to hell. As some of you may have already guessed, this controversial episode is Season 9's Bloody Mary. It's about hangovers and the mother of Jesus. But we're not going to focus too much on the religious controversy. South Park has a billion of those. What we will focus on is the slightly smaller controversy surrounding this episode, its portrayal of alcoholism. Matt and Trey have gotten called naive know-it-alls for what they did in Bloody Mary. Now, I don't disagree with this assessment because I do believe all the noise surrounding it covered up the message. So what on earth did Matt and Trey do to piss off so many Catholics and alcoholics at the same time? Let's go ahead and dive right into it. Bloody Mary opens with Randy driving the boys home from karate practice. He's drunk and he's drinking more. Stan mentions that Randy shouldn't drink and drive, but Stan is wrong. Randy sets him straight.
I'm not drinking and driving. I'm driving while I'm drinking, right, boys?
But a cop does what they do best. He ruins this wholesome father-son bond bonding moment by pulling them over.
Everybody stay calm. I can handle this, no problem. I know how to deal.
Randy handles it perfectly.
What seems to be the officer problem?
The officer administers a sobriety test.
Just bring one hand to your nose like this.
Randy tries and tries and tries to touch his finger to his nose. He goes around in circles over and over again until his pants fall down. And for no reason at all, he gets arrested. Trey Parker says this scene was inspired by his own father's arrest for drunk driving when he was 9.
No, Stan. I'd say that your dad lacks a discipline.
Stan begs his friends not to mention the embarrassing incident.
Look, guys, about last night. Can you just keep quiet about it?
Cool. But then the judge orders Randy to go around talking to school kids about the dangers of drunk driving as a part of his community service. This is so humiliating for Stan. It's even made worse by Mrs. Garrison.
If you don't make the right choices in life, you could end up being a big loser like Stan's dad.
That's bad enough, but the second part of Randy's punishment is where the alcoholics start their beef with South Park. Randy goes to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting under court order.
Hello again, everyone. My name is Michael, and I'm an alcoholic.
But Randy is not willing to admit that he's an alcoholic.
My name's Randy, and I just really like beer.
The guys try to push him,
You have to admit you're an alcoholic.
but Randy is stubborn as always.
But I don't know if I'm really an alcoholic.
This is just absolutely classic Randy, always in denial. This is a man responsible for my favorite excuse the entire world.
I'm not having a glass of wine. I'm having 6. It's called a tasting, and it's classy.
The alcoholics try to get Randy to admit that he has a problem.
Step 1 is admitting that you are powerless to control your drinking.
Now, there's a little back and forth over the religious aspects of the 12-step program.
It's not religious. You just have to admit that there is some kind of God which has power over you and turn your life over to that God and ask him for forgiveness. That's the 12-step program, not religion.
This is the first attack on religion in this episode, and it's going to get much worse, trust me. But Randy is satisfied with the explanation. He doesn't acknowledge that he has a drinking problem, though.
Look, I really just need to cut down on my drinking and never drive the car drunk again.
You sweet summer child.
You can't just cut down on your drinking, Randy. You need to know something. You have a disease.
A light bulb turns on in Randy's head. He had never thought of his addiction like that. The moderator goes on to explain further.
Alcoholism is a disease. You're very, very sick. You can't cure it yourself. And it's deadly.
Randy takes this and runs with it. He has a disease which, in his mind, gives him an excuse to drink even more.
I thought I could just quit drinking on my own, but it's an illness, son. I have to admit that I'm powerless to this terrible disease.
Randy cries about it, shaves off his hair, and puts himself in a wheelchair. And he drinks a lot. This is obviously an exaggeration for comedic effect, but some people just weren't laughing. Now, South Park's criticism of the religious aspects of AA is nothing new. Lots of people have done it before. Agnostics and atheists have a big problem with AA's insistence that you must surrender to a higher power.
I do not know this God.
This criticism has its merits, but does it really discredit AA? South Park thinks it does. In a lot of AA forums I visited while researching this video, the opinions across the board were pretty split. Lots of recovering alcoholics think AA is the greatest thing on God's green earth, but there is a significant minority who thinks it's all just a bunch of pseudo-religious nonsense. So, who's right? This is just my very unlearned opinion, and I say that with extreme emphasis. But I believe these people's views on whether AA is good or bad aren't based on effectiveness or data. They all depend on an individual's religious beliefs. According to Gallup, 47% of Americans are religious and 18% are not. They're all united in hating the 33% who say they are not religious but are spiritual. If you're a part of the 18% that doesn't believe in any religion, surrendering to a higher power becomes impossible, which means AA might not be the best fit for you. If you're in the religiously confused 33%, it's a toss-up. But if you're the religious 47%, then no sweat. AA will almost certainly work for you because it's pretty much designed that way. The organization was founded by 2 devout Christians, and countless studies back this up. Religious people tend to be happier, which leads to fewer addictions because addictions tend to be coping mechanisms. You can cope living is to go up to heaven. Whether he is right or wrong is absolutely irrelevant. What matters is that he believes it and he lives his life that way. So if you tell this guy to put his faith in God and ask for his help to stop drinking, he just does it. But tell an atheist the same thing and he's gonna fail, because you first need to make the atheist believe in God. Replacing God with a more generic, higher power doesn't change anything. It's still religious framing. Without that faith in a higher purpose and a higher power, AA's method falls flat. My theory is that the effectiveness of its methods vary with the intensity of your religious beliefs. When you consider that Matt Stone is an atheist and Trey Parker says that he believes in a God but doesn't follow any religion, it's no surprise that South Park comes down hard on AA. They mock AA members for being pathetic and literally call it a cult.
Young man, do you know anything about the 12-step program?
Yeah, and I also know a thing or two about cults. I was the leader of one for a while.
Many former alcoholics who credit AA for their recovery were not happy about this bit, and I can't blame them. To be fair, AA doesn't have a charismatic leader, a hierarchy, or even a harem for the dear leader. The organization doesn't accept any donations, and a local chapter operates independently. Even if you were to stretch the definition far enough to include AA, it would be one hell of a boring cult. But that is not even close to being the biggest controversy in this episode. Randy comes to believe that he needs a miracle to stop his drinking.
I'm afraid the only thing that will cure me is a miracle.
The miracle happens right then and there. A statue of the Virgin Mary at the church in a neighboring town starts bleeding from her rear exit. Sick people from all over flock to the church. They all believe that the blood of the Blessed Virgin will cure them of their diseases. And Randy joins them. He cuts in line ahead of cancer patients, old ladies, and elephantitis sufferers for the very same reason.
Please, officer, you have to understand. I need a miracle way more than these people. I'm an alcoholic.
The cop helps Randy because he has an alcoholic brother.
Excuse me, out of the way, please. Alcoholic coming through.
The Virgin Mary statue sprays blood on his face and Randy is magically cured. He jumps from the wheelchair and tosses his beer.
I'm not going to drink this! It's a miracle!
Then he really celebrates.
Praise Jesus! Praise Mary, the Blessed Virgin Mother! Thank you! Thank you, God!
Randy's hair grows back, he takes to carrying around a Bible, and he becomes one of those insufferable converts.
It's just amazing. I haven't had a drink in 5 days. Praise Christ.
Randy goes to hang out with his AA friends, and South Park packs in a little more mockery.
Boy, this lemonade is great. Who knew how fun being sober could be?
Right.
While they're at the pizza place, Pope Benedict XVI visits the statue and examines it. He discovers that the blood is not coming from the Virgin Mary's rear exit, it's coming from her front exit. And the Pope makes a proclamation.
A chick bleeding out her vagina is no miracle. Chicks bleed out their vaginas all the time.
Christians in general, and Catholics in particular, had problems with how South Park treated the Virgin Mary for obvious reasons. But
Hi there. Sorry to interrupt. Interruptions can be quite annoying, like a stuffy nose.
alcoholics have an even bigger problem with what happens next.
That means I'm not cured. I still have the disease. Bartender, I need a drink!
They all rush to the bar and order as much alcohol as they can. This is where Stan comes to the rescue.
Dad, stop!
He tells Randy that even though the statue wasn't a miracle, Randy managed to stay away from alcohol all on his own. The message resonates with Randy, and he even decides that maybe he can force himself not to drink again. This is when Stan makes the speech that riled up countless recovering alcoholics.
Dad, you like to drink, so have a drink once in a while. Have two.
But the worst is yet to come.
You devote your whole life to completely avoiding something you like. Then that thing still controls your life, and you've never learned any discipline at all.
Randy argues that he is the kind of person who needs to have it all or nothing.
I'm just the kind of person who needs to have it all or nothing.
Stan channels his inner karate instructor.
All or nothing is easy, but learning to drink a little bit, responsibly, that's a discipline. Discipline come from within.
The alcoholics lose it. Even the ones who didn't like AA having a problem with this message. They've called it simplistic, out of touch, and even naive. At first, the alcoholics seem to have a point. Just be disciplined, bro. Is terrible advice no matter how you slice it. Does that make Matt and Trey wrong, though? It seems so, but if you look at this from both perspectives, you might have come to a radically different conclusion. First, let's take a look at it from the alcoholic POV. The American Medical Association recommends a maximum of 2 drinks per day for men and 1 drink a day for women. If you exceed that, you have a problem, and if you regularly consume more than 5 drinks a day for men, you are an alcoholic. But why do people drink? The true answer is that nobody really knows. Addiction is a mental disorder, and we still don't understand the human brain enough to pinpoint the root cause. That's how you end up with some people who are social drinkers who can go for days or even weeks without alcohol, while you have some that they literally can't function without drinking. These people can't just stop because it's very hard to fight your own cravings. Now, I may have experimented with alcohol, but I can't say I'm an expert. Yeah, I've gotten drunk a few times, made a fool of myself, and decided to just stay away before it's too late. I didn't want to risk it because I have a couple alcoholics in my family, so I spoke to a real expert for the next portion. He's a neighbor of mine, so let's just call him Charlie for privacy reasons. Now, Charlie is the biggest drinker I know, but he's still a pretty chill dude. He never gets loud or violent like some others that I know. He just gets real quiet when he's drunk. Charlie wakes up with a hangover, which he cures with a shot of vodka. Then he nurses the bottle of vodka throughout the day to maintain the buzz. Being buzzed is apparently very different from being drunk. Charlie says that he can drive and do everything else normally when he's buzzed. But I'm way too much of a coward to test the difference between buzzed and drunk myself. Let's just take his word for it. In the evening, Charlie goes to the bar and gets drunk for real this time. Then he goes to bed, wakes up with a hangover, and just does it all again. This is a guy in his mid-30s who manages to have a wife, 2 kids, and a fairly successful small business, all while perpetually being half drunk. In his own words, Charlie is literally never sober. To him, being sober is torturous. He says it's like staring at a wall, and I'm not sure if he was trolling me or not, but he says he's done that before. For Charlie, alcohol is a necessity. The idea of going through life without it is too miserable for him to even try to consider. What I find unbelievable is that the claim that he's always buzzed. Now, alcoholics in the audience, how sustainable do you think this is? Real or not, most of the stuff Charlie told me matches with what I found on online forums. As one alcoholic put it, 2 beers is broccoli, 20 beers is chocolate. You can't tell people to just eat broccoli every day and expect them to not crave chocolate. The guy who had 1 or 2 beers regularly and just stops are the very few and also very rare. Addiction is compulsive, and most alcoholics can't override that overwhelming compulsion to just keep drinking. If they could, they wouldn't be alcoholics in the first place. For a lot of alcoholics, it's either all or nothing. So when South Park tells them that they can just summon the discipline to stop whenever they want, it feels like a slap in the face from 2 guys who have never actually had to deal with alcoholism. But I believe Matt and Trey were trying to do something else that a lot of people missed. Randy stopped drinking when he got sprayed with the Virgin Mary's blood because he believed he had been cured. Then he reverted to drinking when the Pope announced that the bleeding was not a miracle at all. Nothing in real life changed. The only shift that happened was in Randy's mind. 1 minute he believed he was cured of alcoholism, and in the next he didn't. If the miracle had never been disproven, Randy probably would have never touched another drink in his life. Now this is a pretty obvious allusion to the placebo and the nocebo effects. You have probably heard of the placebo effect. A patient reports pain and the doctor gives him a fake painkiller. About a third of the time, the fake painkiller works. Real symptoms of diseases disappear just because the patient believes he's taking a real painkiller instead of a sugar pill. We know the placebo effect is real because it has been proven countless times. Every medication has to prove it works better than a placebo, or it can even be
That's a
released to the